time for half measures is over. Perhaps some of you have forgotten how this started and why we must defend ourselves. But we have not. And I make this declaration here today to remove any doubt. Never again will the Jewish people hide from the monsters whose purpose in life is to murder Jews.
Today in Lebanon, we face a clear violation of the sovereignty of the Lebanese state and human rights through the brutal practices of Israeli enemy against our country and our Lebanese people. Israel violates our sovereignty by sending its warplanes and drones to our skies and killing civilians, including young people, women and children, destroying homes and forcing families to flee. The aggressor claims that they only target combatants and weapons, but I assure you that the Lebanese hospitals are full of civilian injured people, including dozens of women and children.
The events of recent days indicate that our worst predictions are coming true. The escalation of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, which has caused a wave of instability throughout the Middle East, has led to a full-scale confrontation between Israel and Hezbollah, the main victims of which are civilians on both sides of the blue line. We strongly condemn large-scale military attacks and provocations against our friendly Lebanon. Indiscriminate attacks that kill civilians are absolutely unacceptable. Israel says that the goal of the military operation against Lebanon is to create safe conditions for the return of internally displaced persons to the north of the country. However, no matter how much Lebanon worries us today, we all understand perfectly well that the looming specter of a major war in the Middle East can only be stopped by ending the bloodshed in the Gaza Strip. The main thing is that no one else tries to monopolize these efforts for their own selfish geopolitical interests. After all, in essence, all of us today are in many ways forced to deal with the consequences of precisely such actions on the part of one of the permanent members of the Security Council.
The Israeli occupation uses colonization as a deliberate strategy on more than one front. This occupation is not satisfied with its war and genocide on the people of Gaza. The occupation is provoking crisis after crisis, and day after day it is attempting to impose its criminality in Yemen, Syria, Iran, and currently in Lebanon. All the elements of the crime have come together now. The Israeli occupation is doing the same in Lebanon now, like they've been doing in Gaza. It's a crime against peace and humanity. It's a genocide. The Council must recognize that peace and stability in the Middle East can't be held hostage to the capricious whims of Israel. The Israeli occupation has shown it wants no peace.
Indeed, quite a heated debate has taken place at this latest session of the UN Security Council on the latest escalation of violence in the Middle East, specifically in Lebanon. Some strong, frank statements have been made. The UN Secretary General said that Lebanon is on the verge of slipping into hell, and the entire region is under the threat of a major war. Many representatives said that they were shocked by Israel's methods and tactics, including the recent detonation of mobile devices and, of course, the latest airstrikes, which took the lives of around 500 people, many of whom were women and children.
In continuation of its brutality in occupied Palestine, the apartheid occupying regime of Israel is now waging an unjust war of aggression against Lebanon and targeting innocent people across the border and deep inside the territory. This aggression, which has claimed the precious lives and limbs of thousands of innocent people, including women and children, is not just a tragic consequence of an imposed war. It is rather a calculated tactic by Israel to terrorize an entire population and force them out of their homeland.
Some are saying that the only real way of preventing the entire region from slipping into a major war is to stop the violence in Gaza. Now, on the other side, the United States has voiced support of Israel, its closest ally in the Middle East, and has accused Hezbollah of attacking Israel, allegedly using Iranian weapons.
Hundreds of thousands of Lebanese civilians and more than 65,000 Israeli civilians have been displaced as a result of Hezbollah's decision on October 8 to break the peace that had largely endured along the blue line following the Council's adoption of UN Security Council Resolution 1701 in 2006. Hezbollah's buildup of weapons, many of which are supplied by Iran, and its presence along the blue line, in defiance of Resolutions 1559 and 1701, has long been a source of instability.
I think so far, this latest escalation of violence in the Middle East has been the most discussed topic throughout the first 2 days of this session of the General Assembly, and this latest session of the Security Council was perhaps the most intense one.